because I think in the future, especially in the United States where you can just apparently walk in, get your testosterone or whatnot, the government will impose stricter laws on changing your sex never seen before.
Okay, here we are again for another Tranpa Talks to the awesome people. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Say it again, I have to say like and subscribe. I don't know why I hate saying that. I think it feels kind of cheesy or something. But anyway, it really helps the channel grow. The channel's growing because I'm getting these amazing, amazing guests. So today I have this amazing person. His name. Do you go by him? I'm sorry.
I say he because on the documents I'm a male, so I just say he. Just keep it simple.
Okay, great. Yeah. Keep it simple. So, of course, I don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, override your boundaries. So that being said, we have Sebastian, and Sebastian is going to tell us his story, just because it's more important that it comes from your mouth. But I'm here just to sort of lead you through the conversation. So people are just really enjoying my conversations, and I really enjoy bringing people like you on as well. So without further ado, here's Sebastian. So please tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Hebel. I grew up in Austria, Europe. In German, my name is pronounced Sebastian Guido Hable. I guess my birth name was Maria Vanessa Hable. I grew up I lived in 5 countries. I traveled half around the world. I am a polyglot. I speak many, many languages. My father's a diplomat and a doctor, and my mother's a mechatronics engineer. I am half European and half Native American, but unfortunately I never grew up with the other side of my culture. So I came to Canada and decided to stay here to focus on my education. I was interested in doing biomedical engineering. I'm more leaning towards genetic engineering, so that's what I'm studying right now. And so, hello from Canada. Bonjour to Canada. I'm very excited to be on here. So I guess let's just get started on my trans story.
So wait, how old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 22.
You're 22. Wow, you're a youngster. Okay, great. And so, when did you start to transition?
So at 14 years old, I sought medical counseling for the feelings I had. And
Tell me about those feelings. What were those feelings you were having? Yeah.
So those feelings. So around 4 years old, I started feeling weird about myself. I remember always feeling weird. And mind you, back 2004, 2005, all the way to the 2010s, you looked up on the internet, you didn't see much about transgender people, right? No. Also, I come from, even though having lived in 5 countries, I never was around gay people or trans people to begin with. And I come from a very religious and conservative country as well. So I was having these feelings, and around, I was this kid, right, in a dress, playing in mud, throwing cow patties at my friends, and then going back to my house and playing with Barbie dolls. That's what I did. I followed my dad, what he did. I followed what my mom did, right? So at 9 years old, my parents sat me down for the talk. And that's where I felt sad, because my mom told me that I would menstruate and have boobs. I did not want that. I felt so conflicted, but I was like, but I still want to be a girl, but a man, right? I want to be both. So at 14 years old, funny enough, I was having issues in my family. It had nothing to do with my gender. It was just family issues. And I happened to be in Canada, and the government has taken custody over me.
What? Why?
Because of family issues. They were concerns. And the government had to step in. Had nothing to do with my gender, right? It's just family issues. But that, I guess, saved me. Because that gave me access to medical counseling here in Canada that I needed. So at 14 years old, I still had those feelings. Oh, mind you, I forgot to mention, at 12 years old, I got my first period. I went to my mom and I told her in German, Mom, by the way, my dad's Austrian and my mom is originally from Colombia. So, in case people were curious. So, at 12 years old, I got my first period. And if you were to ask my mom about that day, she would be like, that's where I lost my daughter. That's where I lost her. And also, if you ask people that watch me grow up, they would be like, this child growing up was like a boy and a girl at the same time. So,
right. Okay.
Anyway, 14, I sought medical counseling. I went into the counselor's office and sat down and was like, I'm having these feelings, and I'm thinking of becoming a man. Mind you, at the time, I didn't know what a gay was, a lesbian, transgendered. I didn't know what that was. And that's where I cut off my hair as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so these feelings clearly are just natural, organic feelings. And back when I did it, that, I was called a tomboy, and it was perfectly okay. But so now you're having all of these feelings, and I think most parents kind of push back on that. I even if parents are pro-trans, I think they still, because you're still a child and you're still kind of developing, and not only your brain but understanding where you stand in the world. So again, I want to reiterate this to everyone out there. I personally don't think parents are transphobic. I think parents aren't understanding what's going on, and they don't really have. And so your parents didn't have information. My parents really didn't have information. So now you're going through this. You cut your hair, and then now what are the next steps?
So even though I was the custody of the state, the social workers did tell my parents what was happening. My parents became concerned, not because they are against us, but my doctor said, sorry, not my doctor, my father, who's a doctor, said, you will die from this. I don't want to lose you. Like, if I had the wand to just change you into a man, I would do it, but don't do this. You will die from these hormones, from the surgery. It's not possible to become female to a male. And I said to my dad, I don't care if this kills me. I just want to be who I am. Sorry, this makes me emotional. Like, I just want to be who I am, and I don't want to have these feelings.
Yeah.
And so I even told the counselors and the psychiatrist and my parents, I have urges of taking a knife and cutting my breast off. And I tried. At one point I tried, but I didn't cut any deeper because it hurt so much. So now it's just like these not so noticeable scars, right? But I did try. I tried to not eat in hopes of not getting my period again. I even tried taking a lot of ibuprofen because it does thin your blood. I was hoping no more period, right? Anyway,
So were you going through any type of mental health care at this point, or?
Yes, I was in psychotherapy because I was like, I am transgendered, I want to become a trans man. So I was in that psychotherapy. I had 2 psychiatrists, 2 counselors. I had all of them warn me, this is a life-changing decision, and you need to know all of these side effects. Now, I don't know, in the USA, apparently you can just walk into Planned Parenthood and get testosterone, or YouTubers like Shapeshifter, for example, which you had him on your YouTube channel, said, I wasn't even disclosed of any of these side effects.
That's right.
And I'm here
That's
what?
But I'm going to say, when I did it 30 years ago, my doctor actually, I have the paper, which I'm going to post soon. I have the paper that I had to sign, and it has a lot of side effects, and this was 30-something years ago. So I think it's quite interesting. Now they're not even they just give you these basic side effects. You're going to grow hair. You might, you're going to lose your period. Real basic sort of effects, but not really the things that are like how I look is never going to change, or that. So that's very interesting, and I think it's amazing that you're a therapist and psychotherapist. We're telling you this. I agree with this type of therapy. It's a sort of pushback, because you have to push back a little just to make sure this person actually really. So were you diagnosed with gender dysphoria?
Yes, I had 2 separate psychiatrists diagnose me with gender dysphoria.
Okay. So how old were you now at this point? How old were you?
14 going on to 15. And
15.
They were
okay.
preparing, my social workers, right, or essentially the government of my state. I don't want to say what province I'm in, sorry.
Yeah. No, you don't need to. You don't need to. Yeah.
So the Canadian government were hesitant to grant me this permission, because usually in the province that I'm in, and I have this document right here, You need your father's signature, your mother's signature, a witness signature, and 2 signatures from 2 different physicians to even grant you hormone therapy for
That's right.
16-year-olds. You have to be 16 here.
Is that paperwork still relevant today in your province, or?
Yeah, this is a legal document. I cannot.
But is that still right? Right. That's why they do it. But also, I want to know: is that paperwork still something that is in the system there that people have to do in order to be able to move forward, or can people just, like here in the States, can people just have an affirmative therapist and get hormones, or do you have to have that exact paperwork in order to move forward?
You need to sign these documents.
Okay.
Because
I like that. That's safe. That's safe. It's very safekeeping on some level, right?
So, yes, it's safekeeping, but with this, I guess, transgender movement, a lot of people seem to sign these documents without thinking. They go into these offices and not be honest, and that still happens.
Well,
here.
yeah, there's that. It's of course it does. 100%. There's always a way around a system. You know what I mean? Which is shocking to me that we're doing this. You know, I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to keep saying it. 14, 15, 16, even 18 is still very young to make a life-altering... So I like that you're being pushed back on. I'll be honest. I actually like it. So here we go. Your paperwork is signed, and then did you start taking hormones or what was the next step?
Well, I would like to mention before the government actually signed all those documents for me, I took it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada to get the signature.
Oh.
I was so invested.
Wow.
I was like, I do not care if I die. I don't want to feel this way. I am done feeling this way. I got a lawyer. I took it all the way, and it got granted. Anyway, so I would like to quote some of the documentation that I signed when I was 16 years old. So, quote, I'm receiving treatment for gender dysphoria. The cause of gender dysphoria is not known, but is thought to be partly due to the prenatal before birth hormones affecting the early development of brain pathways. Then it says, although I'm living as male and taking these hormones, I am genetically and biological and physically female, always. And then, this is a very important part as well. I understand, although testosterone is a common treatment for adults with gender dysphoria, using this treatment in young adolescents is a newer development, and its long-term side effects are not fully known.
Excellent.
So, I was told by the doctors who were giving me testosterone, which is I still have it to this day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you see
Is that sepionate, or what kind of is it say testosterone sepionate on it?
Sesame
you know what
oil.
kind it is?
It's the tea.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
It's a steroid and
yeah.
the sesame oil, and
That's
I have
right.
the needles and everything still.
That's right.
So I doctors telling me, if you before even the first shot of the testosterone, there's no going back after the first shot. Okay, after the first few shots, there's no going back. Are you sure?
And what do you Is that what the doctor said to you? The
Yeah.
doctor said there's no going back?
There's no going back. He said, are you sure? If you feel different, you need to tell us. If you feel uncomfortable, you need to tell us. Are you sure, Sebastian? Are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure.
Wow. That's a good doctor. I'm going to tell you, so far your story is really great in a sense that I really feel that doctors care at this point to make sure that you are actually making the right choice. So you're getting pushback.
Yeah.
So you said, I'm sure.
Even
And you're 16 at...
Yeah, I was 16, and even at the Supreme Court, during the process, I had an authoritative figure ask me, are you sure? Because we didn't want to grant this decision because you're so young. Are you sure? I'm like, I will die fighting for this. That's what I said.
Right.
So granted and behold, I got my first shot of testosterone. I was happy. I started doing good in school. I got into youth parliament. I worked for the Parliament of Canada for 2 years.
Wow.
I was hustling. During my high school, funny enough, I started being more open about me being a trans man because I did pass a lot. I was actually stronger than most of my male classmates. I was like, I'm transgendered. 2 people at my school started copying me.
Wow.
This one classmate, he had schizophrenia, but he was like, I want to be a woman, and he used that excuse to lift a pregnant woman up and smash her onto some rocks, and then he told the police, I'm a woman, I could do that.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, that's just psychotic.
I know. And people were like, well, if he's a woman, then it's a woman against a woman. But obviously the police ended up saying no, and I hope you guys suspend this kid from school. And he got suspended. This other girl was, I guess, non-binary, but she didn't look androgynous. I mean, you do you. And she started, like, attacking me for my hormones and stuff like that. And I told her, I fought hard for these hormones, and these are not cosmetic. This is dangerous. I can't even smoke or drink excessive alcohol.
Right.
You know, or do drugs. It says explicitly on this document, it will affect the use of excessive alcohol, illicit drugs, marijuana, anything. It will affect with the testosterone.
That's true.
So, I guess at 19, I got the chest surgery, and that, I would say, healed my gender dysphoria completely.
Okay.
So,
So 3 years on testosterone, then you move forward to getting top surgery.
Yes.
And that helped you feel less dysphoric in your body. And you were starting, so did you pass male? Did you look totally male and, like, no one questioned you?
well, before the surgery, I already looked male because I was muscular for a female. I did a lot of hardcore sports, like gymnastics.
Okay.
Even after,
Yep.
it wasn't even noticeable. Also because I binded my boobs very hard. Here's my binder, actually, that I used.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so
Right.
I passed either way. So, but the surgery was really painful. They had to give me fentanyl because of the pain. Yeah, it was bad. I had I developed hematomas. Hematomas. And I actually went to
Hematomas, yes. That.
Sorry, it's just my German.
No, it's okay.
So I went to the sink and I squeezed out 1 liter of blood, of old blood. It filled up my entire sink.
And that shit just... Did you have drainage too?
Yes.
And it still did that.
I had tubes on each side of my breast this long. And it still happened. So I went to the bathroom, I'm like, you know what? I just want to deal with this myself. And I just squeezed it out and it became better.
My God. Okay, so this also hear this. Top surgery is no walk in the park, kids. There's a lot of. I remember, God, it took me out. It took me so long to come back from that surgery. It's, surgery is an invasive thing to a human body. I think it's life saving. Don't get me wrong. Both of us, it helped with our dysphoria, but it's again a very, very important understanding that you understand that now you know. So now you're moving forward. Your dysphoria is under control, and you started to feel much more balanced in your body. I don't want to speak for you, but tell me what happened after the top surgery and where you started to sort of evolve in your transition.
I evolved in my transition. I would say I came at the end of chapter of my transition. They did offer me bottom surgery, but with the research and everything, I declined. It's just, even the doctor admitted to me, bottom surgery is very risky and not always promised as it is with the top surgery.
That's right.
I declined.
Yeah, it's a totally different, right, because it's a totally different surgery. And in no way, shape, or form are either of us shaming bottom surgery. It's just both of our choice not to do that. And I think it's very important that people understand you do have that option to do it or to not do it. Doesn't make you any less of a transitioned person or a man, however you want to live. So you chose not to do the bottom surgery, and now you're living in your male space, right? At 19 years old.
I felt balance. I walked past the makeup aisle, and I was like, and also found out about people like Jeffree Star, and I thought, makeup, people looking genderless, why can't I not do that? So that's where I ended up doing that. I was still on testosterone. So I started doing makeup. Makeup led to heels, and I started, dressing like a guy the other day, the next day like a woman, or maybe a mix of both. And people around me were asking, Sebastian, what happened? Like, do you regret it? I'm like, oh, regret what? Your surgery. Like, I'm not even thinking about it at a point, right? I'm going out swimming,
right,
exercising, right? And that's where I visited some Native American elders, and they told me a very important story about people that were two-spirited, people that embraced their feminine energy and their masculine energy. And these elders told me, if you feel both energies in you that are balanced after everything you've done, you're two-spirited. And in some, a bit of history lesson, right? Before colonization in Turtle Island, or also known as North and South America, in tribes such as Cree nations, the two-spirited individual would go back between men and women and try to solve any issues that they had between the men and the women. So this person would be going each to the men's side, then would come back and be like, hey, women, the men said this and they want this, and then would go back to the men and be like, women, don't want that. Deal with it.
It's brilliant. It's actually, so I totally, oh my God, I value that you're saying this so much, because, you know, it took me a long time to connect to my female side, you know, through years of work on myself, because I knew there's no way I can push that girl who was half part of, you know, I'm 60, so half of my life I lived in that female space, and I really always felt disconnected. And it wasn't until recently that I realized, holy crap, I have to embrace that person. I have to embrace that part of my body and my soul. It's in my soul, and it's been game changing. You know, it doesn't make me any less of a man, but it really has made me a better man on so many levels. So I really appreciate you saying that, and I think you can help so many people understand that connection in itself might save people from even wanting to transition, because they think that they can't live in this sort of duality space, right?
Yes, I think people need to hear stories such as elders like yourself, or the elders from tribes that I go and visit here in Canada, that just because you're two-spirited doesn't mean you're transgendered. Right? That's right.
That's right. So that's so beautiful. And so now you started really getting into your more two-spirited space and going back and forth and dressing, and it's confusing people around you.
Yeah, but I don't care. You know, people would look at me at Starbucks being like, what is that gender? Right? I'd be like, see ya! Off with my caramel macchiato. People would be calling me a he or a she. I'd be like, I don't care. I am happy. I am proud.
That's right.
That's what I say.
That's right.
I would have, it's funny, like the moment I talk in like an aisle or somewhere public, I usually have people go like, I'd be like, I'm here, but I'm just gonna grab my hamburger and leave.
No, it's awesome. No, it's awesome. I have the like the tranny voice, so people will do the same with me. They'll turn around because they see this dude, but my voice is all Mickey Mouse, and they're just like, "What? That voice just came out of you?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's my voice."
Let me just leave and get my stuff.
Hilarious. So wow, okay, great, you're awesome. So now you're sort of doing this duality thing, and then now what's happening with the hormones? What's happening with, you know, your feelings?
My hormones. I started getting sick. I was in Europe, back in my home country at the time, traveling between Italy, Switzerland, and many other countries. Started getting hot flashes. My dad, who's a doctor, checked my blood pressure. He's like, your blood pressure is over 130. I wasn't eating. I was vomiting. I was pale all the time, and then he took me to a doctor. And then the doctor told me, I strongly advise you to get off of testosterone because you're showing symptoms of cardiovascular disease. I was 20.
Okay, and you started at 16?
Yes.
You started testosterone at 16, 17, 18, 19. So you're 4 years on testosterone, and you already started showing signs of cardiovascular. And those signs, can you tell us what those signs were again? They were fatigue,
high blood pressure, low appetite for some, high cholesterol as well. You could be prone to diabetes. You essentially have no energy, and you look very pale most of the time.
Right.
And you are also
Gotcha.
Some even showed symptoms of some will show symptoms of heart disease or having a heart attack. And that's what I was feeling. I felt
so
tightening
scary.
in my chest. I was like, I can't breathe.
Right.
Please, like, I couldn't breathe.
Okay, so I want people hopefully to hear this. So important. Thank you for sharing this very, very important information. We don't share this in our community, which is absurd. I think people are scared to share some information because they don't want to lose their testosterone, or they don't want to say negative things about the testosterone, right? I think it's just weird how we don't share these health issues, only in maybe some private spaces, but really we need to share this with the world. So thank you for doing that. So now the doctor suggests you stop taking testosterone.
She said you will have a heart attack if you keep doing this. So I thought to myself, I'm not going to lose my masculinity. I'm not going to just go next door at the Canadian Embassy and Austrian government and change my documentation again just because I'm not taking testosterone. I'm satisfied with the changes that testosterone has given me. Muscular, I even became even more muscular. Low voice. I still love that. So I stopped. And I was on blood pressure medication. And I became better.
Wow.
I became better.
Wow. So are you still on the blood pressure medication? So it leveled you out. You stopped the testosterone, took that to level you back out, and now how do you feel health-wise? How do you feel?
Health-wise, how do I feel? I feel better. I feel that I don't have to be scared of weird symptoms because I'm on testosterone. Because that really did concern me when I was on testosterone.
So, right. So you did you have a hysterectomy or no?
Like with my, is that cutting off the breast or?
No, that when you remove the female reproductive system.
No.
Did you have anything done on your reproductive
No, I still have
system?
a vagina.
Did that come back? All right. And did you start to get your period again after you went off of testosterone?
Yes.
That's all right. No, that's important. It is actually it's the part of the cycle. You have to get your period or else you're not having balanced hormones. That's why trans men have a lot of problems after hysterectomy, because our testosterone, estrogen are so off, and no one talks about that. We need to level out. Hormones are everything. Like, that's why you feel like shit, because your hormones are. So now you're getting your period back. You're starting to live back. You still kept your identification as male. Did you start to see differences in your physical appearance?
Not really, because I mentioned previously I was always muscular to begin with. I just became even more muscular. So even if I just went swimming, It's really hard to tell which sex I am.
Yeah.
But with my periods, if it wasn't for the chest surgery, I would have had such an issue with the menstruation. But I don't. It just happens. I'm like, oh, I got my period. Okay.
Wow.
Let's go to Starbucks,
Excellent. No, that excellent. So great. This is really a fascinating story. So wait, I'm sorry. Can you tell me how old you are now? So 22. God, you're such a baby. That's right. Okay, so 20. You stopped the T. Now you're 22. So between 20 and 22, what happens?
Without the testosterone?
Yeah.
Like emotionally or
how's your brain? Emotionally,
Ooh, that's a good question.
Emotionally with your friends.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I do not want to make, especially as a biomedical engineering student, I don't want to be like, this is a fact. No. Anyway, before testosterone, I remember having had what you say, a very female brain. Right? I thought like a woman, even though I was 16. And then when I got off of T, obviously my estrogen came back, right? But I still... It changed my brain because I feel that my brain thinks like a man and thinks like a woman. If you ask my boyfriend, he will say that I just changed from a man to a woman the next second.
Interesting.
Like, he just says I change.
Interesting.
I change constantly without even me realizing.
So, wow, that's fat. Well, I do believe I do. And I have scientist friends who study brains, and I do 100% believe, from what I've been told and what I read, that there's a huge difference between the male brain and the female brain. And also, we really suppress, within the science world, from my understanding, is there's a lot of suppression around the female brain, and that, females just have a different way of doing things, looking at things, and that's why I really highly suggest trans guys don't deny that, dead naming and all of that. Like, literally understand how special you are. You are a special person who can really utilize these things. So that's interesting that your boyfriend said that, and on some level that really backs myself up there by saying that.
Other
it's
people
just different.
also
it's just
say
different.
that about me. I changed. Even my mother, it's like, in situations like I go paintballing, I become like a soldier, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
when I'm
right,
like doing
right,
makeup, no, it's okay.
right. Sorry.
When I'm doing like makeup, it's like, I'm a woman, right? Not that stereotypical or anything, but I really did change.
No, but I'm just gonna say, first off, this is your story. I don't care what anybody says. This is your story. Nobody can tell you your story. If you're feeling more feminine or more masculine, that's your story, and that's where I think why your story is so important, and that I need young people like you who've gone through this space, because I just keep getting called old and I don't know anything. And it's like, oh, it's so boring. I know a lot, but that being said, I'll bring some young people on like you who also know shit. And so it's why I appreciate you. So I think it's so fascinating. So now you're just going off testosterone, acknowledging it, knowing that it's making you feel better. But let's talk about your identification now. So your identification says male, everything is male. Are you walking the world in a brain that says I'm a man, or are you walking the world that says I'm two-spirited and I don't give a shit what people think
I'm
about
a man,
me?
I'm two-spirited, I'm a woman, I don't give a fuck what people think about me. That's what I would say. Right? That's what I would say. And if you're against me, just block me. If you have an issue with me, don't affiliate with me. That's what I think.
Right on.
I love you too.
I just love you. Because this is what people need to see. A trans journey is an actual individual journey. Everyone does it for whatever reasons, personal, whatever. Everyone detransitions when they need to, or however, for whatever. I wouldn't really consider you a detransitioner, though.
I would consider myself as having found my true identity from the feelings I had from when I was 4 years old. Because I didn't mention this, but when I was a little girl, I envisioned myself as an adult, had no boobs, long black hair, muscular, low voice. That's what I envisioned myself as a little girl. Even though I didn't know what those things were, I envisioned myself that. And today, I'm that person.
That's called manifestation. You know that. And I remember when I was a little kid, I used to, the figures we had were G.I. Joes. You see my G.I. Joe up here? That's a G.I. Joe from when I was a kid. But anyway, that was my idea of masculinity and how I wanted to be. And I really feel like I accomplished becoming G.I. Joe on some level. And I also manifested that. And you manifested, because look at you. You actually manifested what you wanted to be. That's beautiful.
And it makes me super emotional.
Yeah. Wow, powerful.
Yeah,
you know what makes me actually emotional?
What I want to say to these people that are thinking that transitioning is just like putting on makeup, it is one of the most painful things I've ever been through. And I do not want to repeat that. Chest surgery, having just waken up, feeling like your boobs just ripped from you, open, and having them give you fentanyl, and have that fentanyl mess you up by giving a high tolerance to pain medication. 3 ibuprofens don't work for me anymore.
Oh my god. So today, let's now move forward. So today you're living how you look today and how you are and how your identification and all those amazing, beautiful things. And I feel like you've really connected spiritually and physically to yourself. That's what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, which is such a beautiful sight to see. But now I want to start to talk about what's happening today in our community. And, you have a lot of knowledge as a young person, and you have a knowledge of actually transitioning and realizing that maybe it wasn't what you needed to do. Or do you feel that? Do you feel that where what you did in that certain amount of time was important for you to get to this step?
Even though I fully realize that I may not be able to reproduce children, I still don't regret it. I don't even think about it. But as you said, what's happening in our community right now, I actually left the LGBT community. I'm not against it, but it's just has gotten so toxic. Hormones are talked like candy. Speaking of which, last week or so, I met this person. I think I messaged you on Instagram about it. How I met this person and I overheard them saying that they were a lesbian. I was like, okay. So then sat beside them and I accidentally gave them the wrong pronoun she, and she yelled at me, "I'm a trans man. I'm a transgender homosexual man," is what she said. And
wow.
So I was like, oh, okay. You know, I'm a trans man as well. So I gave her, I guess, a quick overview of what I did to my body, hormones and everything, and she didn't listen. She was like, she basically told me, you know what, I know better than you. Even when she wasn't even on testosterone yet, she basically said, I know better than you. And honestly, sorry, go ahead.
That's... Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go on. No, I was going to say, that's the rhetoric, because that's rhetoric, coming from this community, that you can't even say anything without somebody getting upset at you as if you're attacking. There was no attack. There was a basic misunderstanding of someone's pronoun because that person wasn't passing or whatever. I mean, this is the insanity and the entitlement and the sensitivity level that's been turned up full volume, that if you do something that on some level offends or does something, you literally get blasted. So this is what I want people to see. Why would they blast you or this person because you probably said the wrong pronoun or whatever, but your intention. Do people not understand the word intention anymore?
My intention was I do not want anyone to go through what I did medically. That's my intention. So be not 2 times, not 3 times, so sure. Just do your research. And also, I don't agree with children transitioning at 16. I don't agree with it. I don't agree on puberty blockers, especially as a biomedical engineering student. That will literally expand your brain, cause more fluids in your brain, and do all crazy kinds of things that the FDA even doesn't know about. So, I want to say that I was a different child, right? I knew what I was doing, maybe because I'm an old soul. I don't know. I just knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted, but not to say that all teenagers are like me, because usually children don't even understand what a vaccine is, okay? So, what I was going to say, there's essentially competition between our community on who has hormones, who has done what, and these ridiculous pronouns that aren't even English, and those, even for me, calling somebody they, them, messes me up. English is my 4th language, okay? So if you came up to me and said my pronouns is sir, I'd be like, what? Is that Russian? Like, that would confuse me. That would confuse me.
Well, you're not the only one it confuses, and here's the deal. That's a pretty insular space, right? All the neo-pronouns, the 5 million new genders, all that. I don't give a shit. You go right ahead and call yourself a Zems or that. But when you start impressing or pushing this idealism, because it is an ideology on some level, that the whole world has to get on board. Good luck with that. And now you've pushed against people in a way that is upsetting to some people, because they're just not going to play into your space. That's right. People don't play into my space. They still call me a woman. You'll never be a man. I don't care. It doesn't. You can think whatever you want about me, but I don't understand. So I guess as a young person, I want to ask you this, even though you are an old soul, I see it. Why? Why is there this? Because it is an entitlement. It's an entitlement and this desire to demand that the world sees you how you are, whether it makes sense in the rest of the world's brain. It doesn't matter. You are demanding that people take on your language, take on your choices, without giving people the opportunity to say, no, I don't agree with that, and that's okay. So do you have any feedback on that?
Okay, I don't want to sound racist or anything, but these types of people are generally young girls that are Caucasian with colored hair and square glasses. And I don't know.
Is that racist? I don't know. I don't think
even
so.
you've noticed this. Great. Not just me. Also, I'm half white. Why can't I be racist to my kind?
Of course.
So...
It's not racist.
I just want to be careful what I say on here.
Of course. No. I appreciate that because, you're going to get shit anyway from connecting with me. But that being said, that's an opinion, number one. Number two, you're seeing something in a space that you belong to. I don't necessarily, you're not coming to it as a racist statement. You're not saying, I think all white people are blah, 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 or whatever. You're saying, I see a demographic, which I see too. The demographic that I see is exactly that. I see young, white, middle to upper class who have money really in this space. And I don't think either of us are being racist. We're saying, hey, wait a minute, we see something. So why aren't other demographics, where the Latin or the black or are in it as powerful? I mean, there are, but they're nowhere near the amount that you and I think, both see in this space. So and that's concerning too. Why is it only coming from one
finish my answer
demographic?
That I tried to be so carefully with the wording. So essentially, this particular demography, they don't necessarily have to be middle class or anything. I think it has to do coming from a first world countries where your thought of not eating is not on your mind like it is in third world countries. And also because these people see blacks people went through oppression, right? Native Americans almost got wiped out. Jewish under the rule of Hitler and Nazi Germany. You had the what's it called? The Chechen War in Russia, which almost wiped out the A minority. So you're seeing a lot of these minorities that are still fighting for today, are still trying to be heard. So I guess it's just like this sense of also wanting to be victimized. And the easiest way to do it is to go to a counselor and say, I want to change my gender, and here are my pronouns. And if people don't use my pronouns, you are a bigot, and you are racist, you are sexist, and you are everything else. That's what I think. And I've met these people again and again.
That is... Well, that's happening. Yeah. I mean, that's happening. That's not what you just said is actually physically happening in school systems here in the United States, and I also think in Canada. And teachers are actually in this space of telling kids not to tell their parents stuff, or we'll just take care of you at school and give you your secret little name and your pronouns, but your parents don't need to know. I mean, that's happening here in California, which is absurd and disgusting. If you didn't know, I have a 10-year-old son, and so I'm around a lot of this age group, and I would die. I would be so upset if my kid came home and said, my teacher told me not to tell you stuff. I'd be like, really? Me and you are going down to that school right now, and I will make sure your teacher knows what Daddy thinks.
It's completely problematic. And
what?
Even here at the government of Canada, they ask you for your pronouns before they even consult with your case. Like, I remember the other day, I got a scholarship through the government. It's got to cover all of my bachelor's genetic engineering. I called them about something, and the first thing they asked me was, what are your pronouns? And I stopped. I'm like, huh? He, him.
Wow. I don't know. I find it insulting. When people ask me my pronouns, I'm insulted. I work hard to look like a dude. You know what I mean? Like, you should know my fucking pronouns. And that's why I keep saying to this community, who cares if you want to use your pronouns? You go right ahead, kiddo. But don't you dare tell me I'm a transsexual. I don't want you to ask my pronouns. That actually gives me dysphoria on some level, right? So, yeah.
And also
it
having this idea that
me.
pronouns or calling you by your birth name is going to immediately send you to suicide is ridiculous. Like, before I took hormones, people called me she. It made me uncomfortable, but it never made me want to really, do anything drastic. Yeah. Even my mom to this day calls me by my birth name, and I don't care. but they're creating this ideology that pronouns are going to send you to death, right? It's a complete lie.
Which is a complete lie, and a complete total fucking lie. I mean, yeah, some of us are very suicidal, some of us are not, but not all of us, and also a lot of people have suicidal ideation. For us to use that is so transphobic in itself on some level. For us to be using the suicide thing, you don't think you're putting that into kids' heads when it's like, oh, the highest rate of suicide. And the kids hear all of this stuff and they take it all on. I mean, it's just insane unethical on some level. And so no, it is. It's unethical. There's many, I don't like giving kids puberty blockers. I'm very against surgery on young kids. I'm against all, I don't really think I have a problem with social transitioning because I actually kind of did that on some level. And it did make me feel good as a kid. But that's reversible. You can put the kid back in a dress or pants or whatever. But I'm going to say it again because I say it all the time. I really do think it's gender stereotypes. We are reinforcing gender stereotypes by transitioning children at such an early age, saying you're better off as a boy or you're better off as a girl. Well, we don't know that. What if the kid is gay? Or what if the kid just wants to live like you between the space of, what if they're actually two-spirited children? We're not giving them the opportunity to even make those choices. We're literally shoving them into the male and female space, which really is hypocritical as this community keeps to move forward with non-binary and, gender non-conforming. Why are we doing that to kids? Do you have any opinion about the kids being medically transitioned?
Look what happened to me. I had symptoms of cardiovascular disease and heart attack symptoms at the age of 20. I'm against it completely, but then again, you also have to put yourself in the position of the parents where let's say the parents did take the child to multiple psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, whatnot. Nothing's working. They want to jump out of the window. What do you do as a parent?
Yeah.
Do you just let your kid jump out of the window, or do you take them puberty blockers?
Of course.
So, yeah.
Well, what about mental health care? Why don't you take them to an actual mental health care professional who's not affirming them, because that's not mental health. You're just agreeing with the kid, right? So why don't you start to really look deep inside the kid's brain and sort of maybe figure out where can we meet? I talk to parents daily. I'm not even kidding you. I get so many parents. My kid came home from school yesterday and is now in non-binary, where they literally almost every day. It's crazy. So I'm like, you gotta not push too hard, because you don't want to lose your child, but at the same time, you do gotta find a balance there. I do believe that, but I always tell them, you don't need to give them puberty blockers. You need to give them love and respect, and say, hey, wait a minute, let's let you dye your hair blue, and let's let you call yourself Tommy, and let's let you wear boy clothes, and we'll be totally okay with that, but let's take it a little bit at a time. The parents I've discussed that with, their kids have turned around. They send me pictures all the time. Oh my God, my kid is doing this now and that now. I said, because you met your kid in the middle. Meet them in the middle. Don't give them all the authority. You can't give your kid, you got to meet that kid here and say, we will make, changes for both of us, not just you and, not just me.
I would say now you've changed my perspective on it, because I thought parents would be able to be put in a difficult position by their child, but you said, meet them in the middle. And again, I'm not a parent. I am like the parent of a hamster.
Meet them
I don't know anything about children.
That's right. I mean, having kids is a whole other thing. And not to say I'm not the end-all, be-all. I'm a transsexual man who transitioned 30 years ago, who has a kid, and I have opinions about this. And that's why I bring people like you on, who did transition as a young person, and it did mess with you. And it didn't do the things that it did for me, okay? So that's what people need to see. It worked for me. It did not necessarily work for you the way it worked for me. It worked for you the way you needed it to work for you. And they need to see the diversity in that. And so today we have this push. We do. I really believe there's a push of testosterone, estrogen, surgery, without really making a new. I don't find nuance. Do you see nuance anywhere?
Polyglot here.
Well, I mean, oh, sorry, I know language. So what I mean is, like, there's it's either black or white. There's no gray area. So a gray area means, well, not everyone is the same. Why are we shoving everyone in, in the same space where every kid is different? Every kid needs mental health care. Then we can figure out and find what's going on in this space. I don't see that. I see, this is how it is. If you say you're trans, you're trans.
I'm going to give you an example.
I just
a real life
can't
example
be
of
on
what you
board
just
with
said,
that.
because I don't have an answer to that, because it's so like, what? So there's this book called Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Care Seducing Our Daughters by Abigail Shrier.
Yes.
I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah, she's a very
really?
good... No,
I
she's one of my great
but
friends.
I did watch
actually.
so many videos of her talking about this one part in her book that was about this mother that reached out to so many journalists about her story, about her daughter, before she went off to college, had, of course, depression and anxiety. But then when she came back to college, she identified as a trans man because her group of friends decided to transition as one. So I think that social pressures and back to the victimization, everyone nowadays has to be victimized. Everyone nowadays has to be offended. No one is happy nowadays.
That's right.
Everyone needs to care what others think.
No.
And that's not right. If you're going to transition, actually transition, you need to find peace in yourself, and that can take years. You can't just be like, my pronouns are this.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't mean to laugh at people out there, but it's just, I can't understand the logic. I don't understand this logic that a kid can go to school, never had thoughts of any transitioning or any of what you just heard Sebastian talk about, and then all of a sudden come home and say, I'm trans. My pronouns are he, him, and they, and their, and you can never say this, or you can't talk about my dead name. And the entitlement that we're teaching a generation is going to backfire on them, because you don't walk the world you cannot walk the world in entitlement. It won't work. And so I agree with you. I think there's some socialization situation happening here.
Years of experience in government, particularly in Canada. I've won 2 parliamentary prestigious awards, 2 years in a row. I've won many, many other awards, including a scholarship that covers my bachelor's. Thank you. So here's what I think is going to happen. By the way, I still work for the government. Canada, eh? Sorry!
Sorry.
Anyway, so this movement, this toxic movement concerns me, because I think in the future, especially in the United States, where you can just apparently walk in, get your testosterone or whatnot, the government will impose stricter laws on changing your sex never seen before, because this time children are involved.
That's right.
We will see in the next upcoming years of children coming out with these weird side effects just because they were on puberty blockers. And these children will retaliate against their parents or against these doctors. So that will result in these laws. We will see that. And there's no going back anymore, because children today are in puberty blockers.
Wow.
These detransitioners are trying to make this illegal because they weren't being honest at the office. There needs to be, like in Canada, like in the province that I was in, there needs to be more in-depth involvement in psychotherapy. Why are you here? Why do you want this? When do you want it? And what's your family background? Because I come from a wealthy family, okay? Yeah, they were family troubles, but I've always had food on my plate, right? So they're going to see things like this. They should investigate like they do in Canada, because this is not a game. This could kill you. This will send you to an early grave. This will not make you a man or a woman tomorrow. It says on this document I signed, it takes 2 to 5 years to even appear as a man. Okay? And before you get there, you possibly will have symptoms like I did. And have high cholesterol, high diabetes, or even better yet, your testosterone could be automatically converted back into estrogen just because your body doesn't like it.
That's right. Thank you for saying all of that. because I don't believe we are being honest even in our own community to each other. We're not being honest because guys don't want to say it because they feel like they're being anti-trans, right? So I get called all the time transphobic from this community, and then people tell me, "Oh, you just don't want other people to transition." What? I fought for transition for 30 years. That is not true. I want people to transition healthy and with the focus that they understand what they're getting themselves into. You just proved to me that, it might not work for you. And then what are you going to do? So you learned how to find that space. Even though the hormones didn't work for you, you still found your space. And not a lot of the detransitioners are doing what you're doing. They're completely freaked out. Not that you're a detransitioner, but you understand what I'm saying. The minute they they have lost it, they're going against our community now, which I said that's going to happen, and why we need to connect to detransitioners, because we can learn a lot from them. We can learn what was the wrong turn, how can we fix it, even though both you and I understand what the problem is. And I believe it's mental health care from the get-go, and we're just eliminated that, which you're seeing the backlash of it all. So yeah, listen to what Sebastian is saying. He's telling you what he sees as a young person, not an old fart, but a young person who has been through this system and sees the future of this system about to be dismantled in a way that will make it so difficult for any of us to transition. Do you all want that? That's not the goal. We're supposed to be helping all of us transition in a safe, healthy way. And that's the concern that both Sebastian and I have here. We have the concern that people are not transitioning in a safe, healthy way. And that's, I think, what you want as well as I do. Is that right, Sebastian?
No, it's as I mentioned before. Okay. I know I'm looking at the time. As I mentioned before, it's not nice to have your own father beg you on the ground, "Don't do it. It will kill you." He's a doctor, and he said that to me. Don't do it. Don't do it. And have my mom freaking out. "Don't do it. What are you doing? What are you doing?" Kids, please think about it. Do your research. Think more than twice, more than 3 times, more than 4 times. Do not follow trends. Consult with your medical advisor. Consult with a psychiatrist. Don't just inject it or take it if it's estrogen orally.
So what is the next step for you? Tell us what you're doing today? Are you championing trans stuff? Are you out there advocating for stuff? And I know you're in school,
the trans space.
But in the trans space, what are you doing? Are you even in the trans space, or do you feel like sort of ostracized, as I do on some level? I feel ostracized on some level.
Like I'm not with my community as yourself, because everyone is jealous of me that I've done this, and I've even gotten this for free because I was a ward of the state. Everything was paid for. I got the best testosterone on the market. That was around $500 per vial. Okay.
Wow. And
people, I feel that my own kind is against me. So here's what I'm doing today. I am doing my bachelor's in genetic engineering with the intention of having a PhD. I am now slowly coming out of my, I guess, hermit life onto the internet, because I just started my YouTube channel. And I did make a YouTube video about my boyfriend and I talking about this. And I'm planning to share my own story on my platform. I'm planning to grow my platform. And essentially my goal with my media presence is that I want people to look past what I did to myself medically. And look, I am a biomedical engineering student. That's a polyglot. Indigenous. European. I'm rooting for everybody. Not just LGBT. I'm rooting for everybody. We're in a messed up world right now. We need to be there for each other. That's my goal. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so beautiful. There's your two-spirit coming into. That's very true. It's two-spirit. That is your true spirit, but your two-spirit. Those things. That's why two-spirited people have always been on this earth and have always been revered in many cultures, because there is a different way of thinking, and there's this balance that not a lot of people have. So this is your journey. I think it's exactly the journey the universe wanted you to have, because you have a magical space to be able to have a conversation about things that affect not only you, but the universe and the world. And it's not just a trans problem.
I want to
it's affecting
become
all
a
of
diplomat,
us.
right? That's when I'm working for the
Right?
government. I'm protecting, I can't say much about my position, but I'm protecting people that are vulnerable.
Great.
And yeah, right, this is what we're supposed to do. And what I also don't like in the... Sorry, I'm going off topic here. I have ADHD. But you know how the flag got updated over time? Like, again and again and again? First it was a rainbow flag, then it had, like, different colors. Then they changed the acronym. So nowadays, at the beginning of the acronym, there is two-spirited. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. I mean, I'm not
That's right.
saying that people shouldn't be two-spirited, but that's a cultural term for people like myself. Like, I'm not saying indigenous people only have this term.
That's
no,
right.
It needs to be given to.
That's right.
I was given that term. Okay? I was given that term by Native American elders that told me stories about these Cree individuals that were two-spirited. Right. So it infuriates me, it insults me that people that know nothing or know even that we exist to this day, because people think that we're extinct. No, we're here. Please don't use our term. Don't market it. Don't anything. If you want to use it, consult with us. Go to your nearest reservation and ask. Do not use our culture for your political agenda. That's what I want to say.
I'm going to put all of his information below, and then you all can please follow, because we need to build these channels as well, and we need to help other people with their voices. And I really want to help the younger generation that's being sort of silenced. Because you're not part of the sort of narrative, and that's not the way a community works. We have to have all kinds of voices and all kinds of things being said. So, it takes a lot to step out to the plate, Sebastian, these days when people hate you. That's right. So I'm going to tell you that I appreciate it. It means my voice cracked because I feel like crying, but I appreciate it. And it means a lot to me as an elder in this community to see people like you not be afraid to say things that will save other people's lives or help them have a better transition. That's the whole point of my channel, is to help people have a better transition, or to acknowledge what that even means. So
thank you so much. Thanks
again, Sebastian. I'll put all your information out there. Thanks, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you need to do to build this up. But, and contact Sebastian, because he really spent his time with me and he really cares about this community. And that's how we're going to make a very strong,
bye, everyone.
amazing,
Respect your
awesome,
elders.
loving community. So see you guys all next time. Hold on one second.